Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. Our goal is to educate and advocate health and fitness strategies that help you live a longer, healthier, and happier life. The world is currently experiencing the most challenging global crisis since World War II. The novel coronavirus is not just a health crisis anymore. It is now a human crisis because it is attacking societies at the core. But let me assure you, we will get through this crisis as we have in the past. The key for us all is to be calm and to take self-care actions that will keep us safe and healthy. This means doing what is required to keep ourselves physically safe from the virus and safeguard our well-being while living in a disrupted world. If you're looking for practical and proven strategies that will keep your environment safe from the virus and help you manage the stress brought on from living in such uncertain times, this episode is for you. If you're looking for some certainty about how to stay healthy and sane in the face of a steady diet that we are fed by the media outlets of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, this episode is for you. My guest today is Dr. Kelly Miller, founder of Health Restoration, located in Tampa and Naples, Florida, and Kansas City, Missouri. Dr. Miller's clinical practice covers over 40 years, treating over 15,000 patients. He is an international lecturer on genetic, nutritional, and hormonal considerations related to heart health. He has also lectured on adverse effects of air and water pollution and solutions for these for the Florida Chiropractic Associations for over the past 4 years. Dr. Miller's educational background in acupuncture, chiropractic medicine, functional diagnostic medicine, aging, and regenerative medicine allow for a multifaceted analysis and insight into the body's anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry to help patients restore their lost health or develop a strategy for functional longevity. His understanding of how to combine these disciplines produces outstanding outcomes for his patients. Dr. Miller is the author of 7 health-related books, including Saving Your Brain, Causes, Prevention, and Reversal of Dementia, Alzheimer's, which achieved best-selling status on Amazon.com. And Is Your Environment Stressing You Out? How to Proactively Protect Yourself from Environmental Toxins. All of Dr. Miller's books are now available on Amazon.com and Kindle. Well, thank you so much for being here on the show today, Dr. Miller. Really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you getting up so early in the morning, 7 a.m. your time to do the interview.
Well, I was up anyway, but it's a pleasure to talk with you. Now, Dr. Miller, the CDC and other health experts have told us that coronavirus spreads by droplets from the mouth and the nose, and that we pick it up by touching someone who's been infected, like shaking hands, by touching a contaminated surface, or by breathing in the infected person's respiratory secretions in the air. What can we do to protect ourselves at home and at work?
Well, there's a lot of things we can do. I think the recommendations just came out, and I think now they are available, is getting a mask and wearing it. We ordered a lot of these, and they just came in a couple of days ago. So again, just giving you an extra barrier of protection. And obviously, you want to wash your hands anytime you've been in an area and you've touched anything. And, try to be cognizant not to touch your nose, mouth, or eyes, because these all have mucous membranes, and that's the entry point for the virus. And the other thing I want to stress a little bit is just kind of some common sense things about keeping up our individual resistance to pathogens. And, it's a well-known that there's a huge variety of the response to this, and that's really about the host. That would be you and I, our ability, or the power of our immune system. And I would just encourage people to let's try to stay off the social media about this a little bit and watch TV 24/7. I remember 9/11, everybody was a zombie for 72 hours. Listen, we need to have a perspective and have a rationale. We need to try to do some normalcy. Let's use this 4 weeks to do some self-improvement. Let's get a little fitter. We can do workouts. I'm sending videos to patients to work out. But again, the hygiene is a huge sanitation, and I think it's going to create, or has and will continue to create, an increased awareness of hygiene in our surroundings. So we're going to get through this. So
that's the good message, and we're in the middle of this, but we will get through. There is an end where we'll go back to a new normal, a new way of doing things, and that we will, from this, learn a lot that hopefully will allow us to be that much healthier on the other side. I know that there's continuing research about the coronavirus and what it can do, and they've new research says that it's airborne, which means that it attaches itself to particles in the air. So, however, you're most likely to catch it directly from an infected person when they cough or sneeze, and the droplets contain the viral particles. Those particles land on your face or your body or a nearby surface, or you're close enough to that person where you actually breathe it in, and that's where the masks come in. Now, what are some other things, strategies besides what the CDC suggests about washing hands and using tissue? What are some other strategies that people can use to keep their air and the surface free of viruses?
Well, we have, as we talked about earlier, I've been lecturing for 4 years for continuing education to doctors about air and water pollution. And there is a technology that came out, it was patented. It's a NASA space certified technology. So this is what they use in the space lab. And it is different than a standard air purification system in that most of these suck in things to be trapped in a filter. This produces hydrogen peroxide molecules, and we've been told by the CDC that hydrogen peroxide, guess what? It kills virus. And these are called peroxyls. So this produces this, and just this deals with it specifically what you just said. It kills everything in the air upon contact and rendering it inert. So we're talking about virus here, we're talking about bacteria, mold, pollen. So if we think about everybody being inside their homes, I hate to tell you, but most people's homes is 2 to 8 times has more air pollution than outside. So we want a clean environment to reduce respiratory distress, and we want and reduce our immune system. But they've had a big breakthrough in this last year. They went through an FDA certification process, and they made this technology work 8 times faster. So before, they had multiple studies, over 20 studies, University of Cincinnati, K-State, hospitals, different things. And it was tested against a number of different pathogens. This new testing, they did not test against the coronavirus because it wasn't around them. But they tested it against several viruses. One of them is the MS2. Now, the MS2 is considered to have one of the hardest shells. So think about being in like a coconut shell, whereas this coronavirus is like an eggshell. So if it can kill an MS2, and destroy that virus. It can handle that. And it's been tested against other types of coronavirus, but not this 19. But these peroxals, as they come out of this air and surface scrubber, bind with everything in the air, making it inert, killing it, and then as the particles circulate through the space, it's cleaning every surface, the floor, the countertop, the toys, the kitchen utensils, anything that's in contact that's is clean. So this anywhere from 15 to 60 minutes, they've tested this in a 3,000 square foot space, and it kills, in as early as 15 minutes, 99.99%. And in 60 minutes, 99.99999%. That's called a 6 log of bacteria, virus, and mold. And we've used these for years, and I practice in Florida, and we have a huge presence of mold here, and I have a lot of patients that have chronic mold infection in their sinus and upper respiratory system, and we've used this effectively to eliminate that out of the breathing space in their homes and office. So really excited about this. This is originally we're going to bring this out at the end of May, and with the FDA clearance, but because of the coronavirus, they moved the timetable up, and this is going to be coming out in about a week. So this is one of the things. We've used this in our office and home for, like I said, 4 years, but we're using this new technology as soon as it comes in next week, and we're recommending that to our patients. I'm recommending to my colleagues. I had, in the last 2 days, I've had 10 physicians call me up in one of these for their office and home and patients. So,
well, let me. So this is it's a unit. So it's how big is it? Where do you put it? How does it actually work? I mean, it sounds phenomenal, but because we're on the air and we don't have the visuals of it, can you describe?
Yeah, so it's about. We're going to make a picture available which you can share with people after this, but it's probably maybe a foot, 14 inches high, 12 inches, a cube, kind of like around 10 to 14 inches in diameter, height, width in there. So because the way the design is closed system, these peroxals or hydrogen peroxide molecules come out of the top of it. So it could be literally put anywhere. It could be put on the floor. It could be put on the shelf. It could be, they're black. They're, sleek looking. So they could be, put on a bookshelf or something, but anywhere, and it'll cover 3,000 square feet. So this is going to be, this air is going to go through your air ducts, right? So your air return, and then it's going to be recirculated throughout the home.
Okay, and as it works, these peroxals attach themselves to dander and dust and stuff that's in the air, which we normally don't even see unless we catch a glimpse of it when the sunlight's coming through the window. We'll sometimes see it, and that's usually when my wife goes nuts. Oh my gosh, look at all that dust. And she goes on one of her cleaning sprees because she can see it, but it's there all the time anyway, and attaches to those particles. And as it does that, it makes them inert. They fall to the surface. When they fall to the surface, they then scrub any contaminants that might be on the surface as well. Is that?
Absolutely. All those little particles that you talked about, like when we throw the drapes back and the sun's streaming through and you see all that stuff, that's called something PM 2.5. And they're little particles that are under 0.3 microns, which is as low as a standard HEPA filter gets. People go, well, I got a HEPA filter. Well, it doesn't get these microbes. So this gets all these little bitty guys. And so, we recommend it for people with allergies, asthma, COPD, any kind of respiratory distress. It works great. And the new one's going to be so much better. But it's just a kind of a timing thing, or coincidence that this is a part of a solution for this. And I think you kind of talked about this a little bit, or hinted that we're going to get back to a new normal. I think this is going to, particularly in healthcare, I think physicians' office are going to have to go above and beyond to kind of reassure patients that they're in a safe environment. So this is something that can help that. But even small business people, I was just dropping off stuff to get copied at Office Dynamics down the street where I do everything. And I was just thinking, wow, they got 4 employees in there. They got a little space. They need this people coming in, dropping off things, coming in there. They need a hand sanitizer on the tabletop, and they need one of these things. I think it just allows a whole another level of prevention, and it's for people in their office and homes.
So when we think about the coronavirus, we look at perhaps the silver lining of this is the fact that it really has made us look at our hygiene habits at home and at work and just in normal interaction. And that, we take for granted the fact that as tragic as the coronavirus has been, in this past flu season, we've lost 61,000 plus lives. And we will always have a seasonal flu season that comes in. And how we get the flu is the same way we get coronavirus, which is through direct contact and the surfaces and being in contact with infected people. And we can tremendously limit our exposure by adapting better health practices. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to continue to do social distancing and stay indoors, but there are a lot of things we can do, like the washing of the hands and having more sanitizers and being more aware of how do we keep our existing environment, whether it be at home or at work, as germ-free as possible. Again, you can't eliminate all things all the time because we'd all be walking around with hazmat suits, and that would, that probably would never be accepted as a way of life. So, let's be very reasonable about it. And what's kind of interesting about this is there are times that people may forget to wash their hands, or they may not clean a surface, or they may miss a spot. But if I have this air scrubber that's always on, it's always cleaning the air that I'm breathing. It's always cleaning the surfaces in my home or at work. So I am creating a very safe haven for me to live in, to work in. And that's really got to give kind of a greater sense of confidence and peace of mind, because especially for businesses, I've talked to a lot of people that are very concerned about when we do go back to normal, how are we going to protect ourselves? Because we know that we'll probably have another round of coronavirus, and we won't know when it hits. We will have flu seasons, and everybody's now very aware of how insidious these diseases can be in terms of the surfaces or the air that they breathe. I mean, you walk into an elevator, and you are now susceptible. There's all sorts of risk factors that people will, can be, if they want to be, they can get a little paranoid about it. And people don't want to live in a sense of heightened paranoia, but they do want to be cautious and they do want to be proactive. So this sounds like something that people can do that will be an extra measure of safety. It's a safety net that they don't have to think about every day to get up and start cleaning the house again, because it's already being done. So that sounds like a very, very exciting technology that people can adapt.
Yeah, literally, somebody could come into an environment where they've been in there. They may have been exposed to it. It's on their clothing. They're on something. They've touched it. And they could come into this environment, and as little as 15 minutes, that virus could be eradicated. So, when I come in the office, I stand right in front of it, and I let all these particles hit all my clothing, because it's whenever it hits it on contact, it's pretty much instantaneous. So I just sanitize myself, whenever I come into the facility with it.
And you've been using this for a number of years with a number of your patients. What type of patients are using it, and what kind of results did they get from using it?
Yeah, well, I have a functional medicine background, and we do a lot of chronic infections. So I see a lot of chronic sinus and upper respiratory infections, and particularly mold. And we do all the phones are going off here. So sorry about that. So patients calling. So one of the things we do, so the chronic, the asthma patients, the chronic allergy patients, anybody who has respiratory problems, this works very effectively. What we've done with the patients with the mold testing is that we actually we'll do a screening with them. It's called www.survivingmold.com, and this is a visual acuity test that's been used by the Department of Defense for about 40 years. So it's pretty high percentage of positive correlation, and the person will look at 45 images with each eye as shades of gray. And if they fail that, they, highly likely they've got a mold infection. Then we do a mycotoxins test on them. And then we send the patients home with a little Petri dish, and we have them take a Q-tip and go into the air ducts, and put the dust in there. And whoa, you'll see all kinds of bacteria and mold growth. And then we'll put these units in there, and they'll retest in 24 hours, and it's gone. So this is something that then we'll, because it's important that the person doesn't have this constant stress on their immune system and reinfecting, because people with mold infections, 1 in 4 have a genetic predisposition that they don't mount a good defense against it. So they're very susceptible to reinfection. So we want to keep it out of their environment, and so we can treat them with a protocol to kill the virus, kill the mold in their body. So I have tens of cases, if not 100 or more, where we've done that the last few years. And again, just the chronic respiratory allergy, the people who wake up and they're all stuffy and congested and can't breathe overnight, or they're having to breathe through their mouth. A lot of that clears up. The asthma patients, and again, the older patients who have COPD and other respiratory distress problems.
Okay. I want to kind of shift a little bit, because besides the threat of the virus, there's another very real and present danger in coping with the stress related to our new normal. There's been a lot of discussion about the cure being worse than the virus in terms of the new normal of social distancing and the changes in our lifestyle, the amount of stress that puts people under. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about how stress impacts our immune system.
Absolutely. We have part of my background is studying the brain and nervous system, being a chiropractor. And I wrote a book called Saving Your Brain: Causes, Prevention, and Reversal of Dementia, Alzheimer's, which talks about the different stressors that cause cognitive decline. But when we have two parts of our nervous system, we have what's called the sympathetic, the fight-flight, emergency. And then we have the parasympathetic, which is the rest, digest, and healing. So what happens in an environment like this is our sympathetic fight-flight is just activated, and we're not down-regulating to the parasympathetic. So when we're in this heightened emergency, our immune system shuts down because it's not important for immediate survival. That's a long-term survival. So everything's being shunted. The hormones and the chemistry is being shunted to an emergency, as if we're fighting the tiger or running from the tiger. And our brain doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined thing. Whatever we think, the images we think are, creating this. So, we need to use the different things that we do. Simple exercises de-stresses us, breathing exercises, particularly when you breathe in for a count of 3 to 4, then you exhale for a count of 6 to 8. That when we breathe in, that activates the sympathetic fight flight. When we breathe out, it activates the parasympathetic and rest and digest. So if we exaggerate our expiration, we'll help engage that parasympathetic nervous system. And if you just do that, if we breathe in right now and you do that 3 or 4 times, you'll feel your body relax. You'll feel the difference in the changes. So really exaggerate through the nose 3 or 4, but then outside through the mouth, exhale forcefully, and you'll feel the shift in your body. So this is something we teach our patients. And then the other thing we work on is gargling. We have patients gargle. If you're taking a shower, gargle the water, because that activates the vagus nerve, which is again in charge of the parasympathetic nervous system. So those are a couple of common things. Again, use your prayer, use meditation, use things, focus on positive things in life. Like I said, I tell people just turn the news off. They don't have the good news channel. I haven't found that. No. So unfortunately, most of the news is designed to make us afraid or angry. And that's because that's what sells, that's what the media sells. So like I said, we're going to get through this. Again, all we can do is work on our individual immune system, again, by eating well, getting a little exercise, go outside and get some sunshine, because sunshine activates vitamin D. It has ultraviolet light. Guess what? Ultraviolet light kills virus. So we want to get out. One simple thing is to be sure you take D3, K2, because our vitamin D levels, when they're optimal, usually on a scale, it's like 30 to 100. I like my patients to be 80 to 100. You've got 400% more activation of genes that are antibacterial and antiviral. Okay. Just that, one thing. So many, over 300 different conditions reduce the risk by having adequate vitamin D levels. So up where you are, you're not going to get it from the sun right now, so you're going to have to take it. So that's one thing everybody can do. It's very inexpensive, to supplement. So that's one of the things I'm telling all my patients to do as well.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, because in Chicago for the last several days it's been cloudy and overcast, and my wife, who's normally very active, has been was kind of lethargic. And yesterday it was a beautiful day. It was almost 60 degrees. It was sunshine. She went out and she walked 5 miles. She talked to her friends. She did all that, and she has all this energy. She said, "Boy, I feel so much better today." I said, "Well, because you got outside." Yeah. And it was something that uplifted her. And just in our discussions, we realized that staying connected, talking to people, we FaceTime my daughter and grandkids. So even though you're shut in, that doesn't mean you can be isolated. The idea is there's a lot of ways to reach out and continue those connections with people. So that made a difference. The sunlight, as you mentioned, and probably if you're not going to have a lot of sunlight to supplement with vitamin D. The
sun is our friend, despite what we're told. But in what you said, important. I would encourage people. I wish they would change that to physical distancing versus social distancing, because our social interaction with those we care about and love is very important to help our well-being. And so we're just doing the physical distancing.
Yeah, and because we really do have a responsibility, and not just protect ourselves from the virus, but also to protect our well-being, and the fear that people have of being shut out and not into a normal routine is that people will get depressed, that you will see an incidence of other, it will suppress your immune system, so you'll become susceptible to other things, maybe not coronavirus, but other things will be health issues. So we really have a responsibility to ourselves and the people that are around us and that we care about to stay connected, to help them in this time of crisis. This is the way we get through this is by doing it together, and using, practicing self-care strategies that a lot of times we take for granted, but exercising, hydrating, getting good sleep. I know a lot of people that I've talked to, because they aren't working their normal, either they aren't working at all or they aren't working in their normal routine, that it's difficult for them to get focused and in a routine because they don't get up and go to work. They get up and go into the den, and now they are at their office working, and it's not normal. And there's a lot more distractions, and it's hard to get things done. So creating a routine in your life that allows you to get a sense of accomplishment, to get things done, that gives you a sense of well-being and that you are connected. So those are things that we can do that will help us get through this. Now, as we bring this little discussion to an end, Dr. Miller, what do you tell your patients now that helps them get through these unsettling times? Is there any key advice that we haven't touched on that you could share with our listeners?
Well, I think you just touched on one thing. I would try people to stay a routine. Sleep is a way underappreciated part of our life, and it's healing and therapeutic. And sleeping 10 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning is actually the peak healing time. So there's a tendency, probably people are staying up later, going in later. I would try to keep your sleep routine, and I'd try to be asleep at 10 and get up earlier and try to stay in that routine. Do some exercises. You can do some push-ups, sit-ups. You can do some, there's all kinds of videos on. Do some physical activities. Get a little sweat going. If you can be outside, do it outside, even if it's in your yard. Walk around in the grass. And again, this is all of us an opportunity. I think it's a 4-week to do some self-help. I got like a whole list of things that I've been wanting to do to get accomplished. So I'm working on those. So we all have maybe a book we want to read. We start to do some weight loss. This is, it's an opportunity to make us better. And I just talk about patients, just again, same thing, common sense for your immune system is just eating right. Eat some real food, eat some fruits and vegetables, and don't be a couch potato in that, we're eating chips and dips and so too much sugar and things, and put on 20 pounds in the next month. And the other thing, we just do some common sense, like vitamin D and vitamin C and different things that help our immune system. So.
All right. Well, Dr. Miller, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. If people would like to learn more about your practice or to contact you, where should they go?
We can go to www.savingyourbrain.com and www.drkelly.com. And on the Saving Your Brain, we've got a landing page about the air and surface scrubber. And I think you're going to make one available for people to get information on your landing page, I believe is what we talked about.
Yep. We'll have a link that they can go and get information on or purchase that'll be posted with this interview so that they have access to that information. So again, I want to thank you so much for sharing not only the technical side of it, but also the practical side of the reassurance that we're going to get through this. There are strategies. There is hope. There are options. And instead of looking at this as, oh my gosh, this is 4 to 6 weeks being cooped up, it's 4 to 6 weeks to reinvent yourself, to reset yourself, to use this as an opportunity to improve your self-care practices. So at the other end, when we get out of this, you'll be in a better place than you were when we started. So thank you so much for sharing your time, your information, and I want to thank you again for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Phil.
All right, have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.